Hi guys, welcome back. It's Algebra 1, Lesson 3. If you're following along at home, it's the Saxon 3rd edition book. Today we're going to be focusing on perimeter and circumference. And if you have learned anything by now about mathematicians, it's that we like to make things complicated. I don't know why we don't refer to the perimeter of a circle as perimeter, and instead we call it a circumference. But ideally, it's going to be the same thing. So today we're talking about perimeter. Perimeter is just the outside of a shape. Unless you're talking about a circle, then it's called circumference. Doesn't matter the shape though, unless it's a circle. We can have anything looking like this. That was a terrible shape. But perimeter is just adding up all those sides. Here's in the real world where this comes in handy. Let's say you have to replace the fence that goes around your backyard. The fence that goes around the backyard. And your backyard looks like this. Well, here's your house. We'll say that that's your house right there, okay? And your backyard goes up one side, then over here like this. You can't go to the hardware store without knowing how much fence you need to buy. So let's say your fence goes up 10 feet there, and then in the back, it's about 40 feet across, and then maybe 10 feet here. I don't know, I'm just making up numbers. So when you go, and then this is your house, right? So we don't even need a fence for there. That's kind of nice. So when you go to the hardware store or to the lumber yard and say, hey, I need fencing, you're gonna say, okay, I need 10 plus 40 plus 10, right? So it's gonna give us 10 plus 40 plus 10 equals 60. You're gonna say, I need 60 feet of fence or meters or whatever you're using. So it applies that way for all shapes, right? Except for a circle, because then it's a circumference. So perimeter, this is a good note to have, perimeter equals add up all the sides. Circumference, however, is a different beast. Circumference, that is going to be the way we find this, and this is how I always remember it. Cherry is delicious pie. Cherry, our C, stands for circumference, equals our diameter times pi. And what might the diameter be? Well, here's our circle here. Make sure I'm still on the screen. If we go straight across the center and it has to cut right into the center, this is called your diameter. Your diameter, okay? Now, if we cut that guy in half and it looks like this, that is called your radius. Your radius. So another way that we could deal with circumference is instead of saying cherry is delicious pie or circumference equals diameter times pi, what we could say is circumference equals 2 times the radius times pi. And that's because there's one radius here, there's another radius here. When we have 2 of them, it goes all the way across, that's your diameter. Sound good? All right, so let's practice putting this into some use. The first things first is you'll see for the first example in lesson 3, it's a lovely little shape that looks like this. Not to scale, definitely not to scale. Let's say that this is your backyard garden and you're trying to keep all of those pesky moose from eating all of your fun fruits and vegetables. So you need to put a fence around this garden, right? Well, we're almost there here. We've got the 4 and the 9 and the 15, but we're missing a side right here, right? This side over here is the same length as this side over here. I'm gonna switch pen colors so you can see what I'm doing here. So this guy, the same as this guy, that's a 9, all right? Now, this guy down here is a 15. We see that, right? That means up here is also gonna be a 15, all right? Notice that this guy right here is missing. Well, we know that this is 4, right? We know that this is 3. Like I said, this is not to scale. So 4 and 3 will give us 7, right? So if we put an 8 right in here, that'll total 15. That makes sense? So what we would have is 4 plus 8 plus 3 equals 15, the same as this length. And now we have all of those sides marked out, we can add them all up. So we have 9 plus 4 plus 5 plus 5 plus 8 plus 3 plus 9 plus 15. All right, add up all of those, we would end up with 58 inches, 58 inches. So that's how you go about adding up the perimeter. Just any shape, you just add up all the sides. Okay, so let's do an example with a circle now. So we got a circle. We have a radius of 3. If we remember, our formula is cherry equals delicious pie. So we need the diameter, and then we're going to multiply that by pi, okay? The diameter of this guy, remember we have to double it. It's 3 over here. That's going to be 6. So our circumference is 3 pi inches. If we're talking, let's say we're talking inches. Now, there are a couple of things. First, now that you're in algebra, you're going to probably want to leave things in terms of pi, like I've done here. You may remember back to pre-algebra and your junior high classes that pi stands for 3.1415, blah, 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 keeps going on for, as I think, millions and millions. They've never found an end to the number. And that magic number, that naturally reoccurring number, just tells us that when we take the diameter and we multiply it by this magic number here, we get that circumference, right? Or that perimeter, that circular perimeter. So as I was saying, for algebra, you're probably going to want to leave it in terms of pi. But if you don't, I advise you to do this. On your calculator, there is a pi button. On mine, it's this orange button down here, which means I need to hit the shift button before I can do anything. So I'm going to hit 6, and then I'm going to multiply it by pi. So times shift and pi, and that gives us 18.85, and I'm going to round, right? So 18.85. Now, the reason why I want you to use your pi button and not 3.14 is because you get a much more accurate number using that pi button as opposed to using 3.14, okay? If you don't have the pi button, get yourself a scientific calculator, but in the meantime, you can use 3.1415. That's a little bit more accurate, but if you can, use that pi button. Excellent. Okay, so some of these perimeter questions are going to be what we call composite figures. We're adding 2 different figures together that we happen to know how to find the perimeter of. If you look, there's an example in 3.14. It looks like this. We've got a box here, and then we've got this guy. This little tip on the edge there. So what we're looking for is the perimeter of this. Well, we know that this is 10, and this is 6, okay? This is also going to be 10. Now, this guy is a circle, and we're assuming that it cuts right through the center. Let's say that that's what it does. If it does, then we know the diameter of our circle is 6, and the radius is 3, right? We have those 2 radii there. So let's first find the easier one, the perimeter of this guy, right? So we have 10 plus 6 plus 10. That perimeter is going to give us 26, okay? Now we have to find the perimeter of the circle. And to find the perimeter of the circle, or the circumference, see, it should be a different word. The circumference, there we go. Remember our formula, cherry is delicious pie. We know that our diameter is going to be 6. So circumference equals 6 pi. Well, now we need to add, actually, before we go any further, we only have half of a circle there, right? That means we want to divide it by 2, okay? Half of a circle, so we want to divide that by 2. So we end up with circumference equals 3 pi, Now what we're going to need to do is add this perimeter to this one right here. So this is a good use of, don't leave it in terms of pi. Go ahead and multiply 3 times pi. And if we do that, we get 9 points. So our circumference is going to be 9.42. Now, if we add up the 26 plus our 9.42, we get 35.42. So the perimeter of this entire thing is 35.42 inches. Always use your units. I forgot to look that up at the beginning. 35.42 inches, okay? So those composite figures, you want to just be able to find the shapes that you know, and then you're just going to be adding them together. But I will tell you that they do half circle a lot, so be really mindful of that. Hopefully that answers your questions. If you have any other questions, let me know. Thanks so much.